There you go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another live stream with my small business colleagues and referral partners and friends. Lisa Banks is one of those. She's actually all three, which is great. And so I'm excited to talk to you with Lisa today, actually, about what she's working on, what she's been working on, and her journey so far as an entrepreneur. She is fantastic. And Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's so good to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Always love
Absolutely.
talking with you.
It is always a pleasure. So I'll just jump right into Lisa. So tell us more about your journey as an entrepreneur, because you, like me, you have a lot of projects going on. You have a pretty varied background. But tell us more about your journey so far. What got you to where you're at right now?
Yeah, well, current project is as co-founder of Optify, which is a coaching and technology company, and that is a true entrepreneurial effort with two partners of mine. I would like to say that I had an entrepreneurial spirit all along, that I've tried lots of different things, much like you, Drew. I've been sort of a jack of many trades, and a lot of things capture my interest. And so I always have this interest in what's new, what ideas are out there. And I will say that I have a fairly high tolerance for risk. So that can be good and it can also be bad, but it has really helped me to find myself into some new opportunities along the way. But about 4 years ago, I had my own coaching business, which I considered an entrepreneurial effort, and I had built that business pretty nicely in the years that I had been in coaching, and I was loving what I was doing. And I thought, okay, what's next? As I started to think, I'm only as big as I can do the work myself, and so how do I scale what I'm up to? And along came my partner Pam, who had this great idea for Optify. And as with many entrepreneurs, I get excited by big ideas, and I got excited by this and I jumped in with her. So that's kind of how we got started. And then our partner, Chris, joined us as well.
That's awesome. And I've been a part of Optify for a couple of years now, and it's a great company. I actually really enjoy it. I love the culture you guys have created and continue to create there. So what was the inspiration for the culture, like kind of the idea of how you created that culture? Because it's not always easy to create that inclusivity that really, it does feel kind of like a family, honestly. And that sounds very, very trite, but it's true.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about, because I think it's so important. As entrepreneurs, we're thinking about the external facing. What are we bringing to the market? What are we bringing to the world? And equally as important is, what are we bringing inside the organization to the folks who work with us and on our team? And I think we've really had to pay attention to that internal culture, because as an entrepreneur, you're always the customers first, and you can drive towards that. But I think partially the beauty of Optify is that we're in a professional landscape that is incredibly generous and community oriented. And coaches by nature are incredibly community oriented people. The fact of the matter is, coaching is a lonely business. And so a lot of coaches are solopreneurs. They have their own businesses, they do their own work, they collaborate with others, but they often are doing their own thing. And so as we started Optify, of course, our focus was on the external market. How do we scale coaching? And of course, that's where our technology platform came in. We scale it with a technology platform, but we also have to scale it with great coaches. Well, how do we invite great coaches to be a part of our community when there are lots of other coaching companies out there that they could coach for? And I think we really had to pay attention to, what do coaches want? And coaches want community. They want a place to connect and share ideas. They want good work. They want to be able to collaborate on their work, because essentially they work alone. And so we decided that we would really have almost a double purpose, a dual purpose. And one would be to serve the external world by bringing, quality leadership coaching at scale. And internally, we would create a thriving coach community where people can learn and grow and connect together.
I love that. And I also love one other thing you guys do, which is unfortunately not as common as it could be and should be, which is respecting the coaches and like I said, taking the coach's mindset into account, and the coach's experience into account. There are companies out there who I will not name on this call who don't do that as much and don't respect the coaches, don't respect the coaching process. or the field, right? And they're just really out there to make money. And Optify is not one of those companies. I really appreciate that. Obviously, yes, you do want to make a profit. You do want to build and grow and scale the company, and that does require making a profit. But at what cost, right? And Optify doesn't consider the coaches as a cost of like a cost of doing business. And I think a lot of companies do that. They'll pay their coaches ridiculously low wages. They won't respect them. And to what you said, that you can get lost in that out external facing idea of like, oh, we need to be out there in the market and get the clients. But when you're not focusing on internally, when you're not focusing on the culture and the people that are on your teams, I mean, you have the Great Resignation, right? That's one of the biggest things that I talk about is that fueled over the years, over the decades, right? And over time, it's become to a boiling point now.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think a couple things that you're saying resonate with me. One is that we really try to balance three things. One, we want to honor the coaching profession, and we have always said that from the very beginning. And in fact, when I invite coaches to coach with us, I say that's something that's really important to us, that we want to honor this profession. And that means honoring your desire for learning, honoring an appropriate wage. And we have to balance that against trying to bring a quality product to market that really serves clients at scale. So we can't be charging the fees that we might charge if I'm coaching a CEO. We're just not going to do that when we're coaching in the middle of the company. And then thirdly, we have to honor our own investment in our technology platform, which we have really put a lot of our own money in. We decided from the very beginning that we would bootstrap and not take money for our investment. And so we really want to balance those three things. And I think that some would say that we've grown a little more slowly than obviously companies that take money, but I feel like we've grown appropriately. We're not bringing on hundreds of coaches when we can't keep them busy. We have a lot of coaches on our waiting list, and we say as we get busier, we'll bring more on. But we don't want you just sitting around and being, a number just so that we look super big. And at the same time, we know that we always feel the pressure from our clients. Hey, can we do this at a discount? And we really want to honor our coaches. The other thing I will comment on that I really appreciate that you said is the way that we honor our coaches and the coaching process. I think that's what has made our platform and our technology a differentiator, because the coaches who actually license our platform for their own solo practitioner work, or if they're in a coaching company where we're licensing to coaching companies, they always say it is so clear that this platform was built by coaches for coaches. It really honors how coaches coach. It thinks of all the things that coaches want to have to help them manage their businesses. And we had one company say, it feels like you've really brought the coaches into the kitchen as you designed this technology product. So I think that that's been a mainstay for us all the way through.
Yeah, and having been one of those coaches in the kitchen, helping out sometimes and giving feedback, I can attest to that 100%. And I love that process because.
And we are grateful. Our coaches gave us a lot of free effort and time and expertise along the way. And that's the other thing I'll say about this community is, we feel so lucky to be entrepreneurs in an industry that is incredibly generous. And I think it's been a game changer for us to have generous members of our community offering their expertise along the way and cheering us on from the sidelines. We've even been at conferences with other technology companies where, we call it sort of a conference of frenemies, and we're all sharing ideas. And, our philosophy is the market is huge and there's so much good to be done out there. We can all really work together. And yes, we have different takes on things, and we want to be profitable. We want to really do well. And we want to do it with integrity.
Yeah, no, and that's something I definitely have seen in the coaching community, which I respect a lot, that the abundance mentality, like all ships can rise with the tide. And, when you get into that whole idea of like being cutthroat and whatnot, it doesn't really serve anyone at the end of the day, So I definitely appreciate that approach. So one thing to ask you about, because the bootstrapping versus taking investors, that's always a debate with entrepreneurs, right? What's the best way? And obviously we both know there's not a best way for a university. There's a best way for you, right? What was, you mentioned a little bit about what made you make the decision, but what were some of the challenges that you faced in the bootstrapping process that other entrepreneurs might want to know about before they get into that process?
Yeah, I mean, there's that phrase, own it all and keep it small, and or go big and have other people telling you what to do. And I think that we were lucky very early on because our original idea was to have a scaled coaching company. Our technology product was really built for us so that we could scale. And so, really, in the beginning, we weren't thinking about a huge investment of a platform that we would take to market. And we were selling enough of the services to support our infrastructure. So I think we were pretty close in being able to fund our own growth. And we just really did not want to trust our vision and our sense of integrity and our sense of purpose of what we want to bring into the world to someone else. We are organized as a for-purpose organization. And so we really are supposed to be for public benefit, even though we're an LLC, obviously, and we have profit. But I think it was really important to us to, in the early stages, to really hold tight to our integrity there. And as you said, there are challenges. You grow more slowly. You are watching other companies take money and pass you by. And I always have to remember, like, keep your head down in your swim lane. That doesn't mean don't listen to what the market is telling you. But I think as far as worrying about what other companies are doing and how they're developing, we really had to get out of the business of comparing ourselves, and we had to get into the business of trusting our instincts and listening to the market, because it's what does the market need and want that we can bring that was important. And I think we trusted ourselves to be able to figure that out along the way. So definitely tough. Some tough periods where we kept putting in money, right? Especially during the pandemic when the coaching services are not growing as quickly. And I would say now we're turning the corner. We are really turning the corner because now we're licensing our product along with selling our coaching services. And I think that the dual purpose and the dual lanes of business is really serving us. And we're getting to an inflection point where I will tell you, every single quarter, when we have our quarterly meeting, we talk about, should we take investment or should we not? And every single quarter up till now, we've said, not yet, not yet. And so we know there will become an inflection point where, in order to get to a certain piece of growth that we need in order to play in the market at the level we want to play, we may need to take an investment.
Gotcha. And that's awesome. And that process, for anyone listening, is a really awesome process to do, to revisit every now and then. Don't just like make a decision and like just like stick with it forever, hell high water. And it's good to revisit it once in a while. But I appreciate the patience mentality, like kind of looking at it from your point of view and understanding, like, other people who they have their own journeys, they have their own stories. Maybe they started with more capital, right? Maybe they have additional investors that they don't always have to tell everybody about. But everyone has their own journey. You can easily say, okay, that person's doing better than I am. I need to do better. I need to push myself and do whatever. But they have their own journey. They have their own challenges. And I appreciate you saying that, because I mean, I know I fall into that trap myself. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, that person's doing, I gotta wrap it up and do better on my side, right? Like, what am I doing wrong or whatever? And it's that voice is really tough to silence. So
it absolutely is. And I think, what's really interesting about that, there's two different ways of looking at it. One is to not keep getting your fingers in too many lanes and be agile, right? So, I mean, I think that the challenge for any entrepreneur is, as you're listening to the market and you take an agile mindset, you're listening to what's happening and you have to decide when to pivot. And it really is a challenge to know, when do I pivot? When do I not? When do I take money? When do I not? When do I try a new line of business? Am I pretzeling myself? Am I opening too many lines of business so I'm not good at any of them? And so those are tough questions. And I think you really have to take that polarity mindset in those situations where you say, how do I listen to what the market is saying and make wise decisions, not worry about pivoting, right? Not stick with a decision when it's bad. And how do I not get frenetic and chaotic in running around scurried and opening too many doors? I think that is the challenge.
Yeah,
And
and
maybe
that's
you can
definitely a
relate
challenge.
to that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Especially
Because
if it's
since
a
I've
starter.
known you, you've had lots of lanes of businesses, right? And we want to be not be afraid to try new things. And it's always this question, do we try this a little while longer? How much longer should we try this? Should we pivot now? Should we wait? And how do you deal with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a great. It's a great question. I mean, I kind of make sure I ask myself, am I exhausting every opportunity here, right? Like, am I have I done everything I possibly can, and then given the market a chance to respond, right? And that's kind of the question I ask. But I'm also the wrong person to ask about putting my fingers in 20 pots because I do that all the time. So I'll just be honest about that. I do that way too much. I'm like, and the pandemic honestly kicked my entrepreneurial ADD into high gear. So I was just doing everything all the time, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Let me get involved in that. Let me get involved in that. And I also have found myself having a lot of time during the pandemic that I didn't have before because I wasn't driving 4 hours a day. So
Yeah.
also expanded it quite a bit in terms of what I was doing. But that was my journey. I'm still balancing that out. My schedule is always my calendar and the to-do list and whatnot is always in flux in terms of like what I want to do, what my best practices should or could be, and what works best for me. I'm still figuring that part out. But it's
Yeah.
always evolving, always changing, right?
Yeah. And I think, it really is a polarity and you don't want to be at either end. You don't want to be so chaotic and oh squirrel, all the time. And yet you also don't want to stick with your idea when it's not working for too long. You really have to shift. I mean, we've started lots of new programs where I thought, oh, this is a great idea. The market wants this. And then I've tried to go out and sell it and nobody wants it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to put that
Yep.
one back on the shelf. If people start asking for it again, I'll dust it off and I'll figure out how we can bring it to life. But I think um, for entrepreneurs navigating that tension between agility and stability is huge.
Absolutely, and that's one of the bigger ones is for sure because, like you said, you want to be there and serve the market, and you don't want to miss a demographic that you could be serving. At the same time, you can't be serving every demographic all the time, right? It's the same idea. It's like if you try to please everybody all the time, you're going to please no one any of the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's yeah,
And we've had that. I mean, we've had a lot of advisors who've talked to us and said, pick a lane. You can't be both a services company and a product company. And that's another one of those tensions that we revisit every quarter. Are we a product company that has services on the side? Are we a services company that, also licenses its product? Should we just be in one lane? Are we doing a disservice to both? Could we grow bigger if we were one or the other? And every time for our business, for the way we think about it, we really think that the two work well together and they actually feed each other. And what we're noticing, this is really just in the last quarter. It used to be when I would go and sell coaching programs, nobody ever asked about our technology. We would just say, oh, we use this technology platform, to scale our coaching or whatever. Oh, okay, fine, fine. There is not one company that I talk to now that they are not vetting your technology as well.
yeah,
And they want to get on it. They want to know what the user experience is like. They want to know what they as sponsors can get out of it in terms of return on investment reports and can they check progress. So, the savvy buyers today want to know what technology we're using. And we say, yeah, we were our first customer. We built this for ourselves and now we're actually taking it to market. I think it's a really good 1-2 punch. So I
yeah.
think that our patience and not listening to some folks that said, pick a side to be on early on has really served us. And it may not always be the case.
Yeah, but I think the way you guys did it also was different than going after both at the same time, right? You didn't have your foot in two boats at the same time trying to make them both sail. You developed the services side, and the platform was supporting the services side, and then you saw an opportunity in the market and said, "Hey, other coaches might want this because it's really awesome. It really works really well. The resource library is phenomenal, right? I mean, the functionality it's built, like I said, for coaches, by coaches, for coaches to coach with, right? It's not built just for reporting. It's built to coach." And so
Yeah.
having that and having coaches be aware of it and giving you feedback constantly, that's a natural thing to say, okay, well, we can actually license it if it makes sense. And it did make sense, So
Yeah.
it's what I call the Google approach, right? You established yourself in one area and then you saw an opportunity and so, okay, let's build this up on this side. And so it wasn't like you
Oh, I love that.
said,
I'm gonna take that back to our investor meeting with my partners. Oh, we're just doing the Google approach. I love it. Thank
yeah,
you.
I compared Google and
Yeah, I
Yahoo.
think, yeah, what I really appreciate that you're saying about that is that we definitely took our time bringing the product to market. And in fact, it was just in coaches giving us feedback for our own platform so they could coach on it that they started to say, wow, I'd like to try this for myself. And this might really help me elevate and scale my business or manage my business. And then we said, okay, we're starting to hear rumblings in the market that people want this. So we took a full quarter to test the market, to say before we put all our eggs in, a marketing basket on product and revamp our website, to really include this as a viable, piece of merchandise or licensing. Let's check it out. And so we spent that quarter really seeing, can we close some deals? Can we entice folks? Which plays better, the solo platform or the teams platform? How would enterprise look at this? So we really had to look at that. And again, we're in the market on the platform for both solo, team, and enterprise. And that's another question mark for us. Are all three viable? Are they all good lanes to be in? Should we pick a lane? Right now, we're just playing with all three.
Yeah. And then you're basically doing ABC testing, which is, again, it's a good thing to do, right? To test things out, see what makes sense. If one of them eventually used to find out that 90% of people want the Teams platform and, it's like 5% and 1%, let go of the 1% if it's costing you too much money, right? If it's something that's just you can maintain easily, why not? Just keep it there in case anyone wants to use it, right? But
Right,
one of those
right.
pivots, and like I said, be agile, continue to be agile as an entrepreneur, and that's really the approach you want to be taking as much as you can. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think what we've come to is that the solo platform it sells itself. It
Mhm.
doesn't need a lot of hand holding. I mean, we do onboard, really well. And customer success and customer support has been probably one of the most important things that we've really studied and learned and said, you live and die by your customer service.
Yeah.
So we're not spending a ton it doesn't cost us a lot to market the solo. The solo platform really sells itself to individual coaches like yourself. We have a great fee that's reduced for new coaches who are, newly out of Georgetown or all the other great coaching schools around. So that's really just kind of selling itself. It's just off on the side doing its thing other than the onboarding and customer support. And then we're really putting effort into the team coaching sites and in enterprise.
Yeah, and I've
And we're
used the solo.
talking about big companies that
Right.
have internal coaching. Yeah.
Right, and I've used the solo practitioner version as well as the Teams one, which has been pretty cool actually. I mean, I think managing my team was relatively easy for the most part. There were a couple of snafus, but it was very in the very beginning. So I gave the feedback, and it was actually pretty quickly addressed, which I appreciated. So, like I said, customer service is huge, and that's everyone says they have good customer service, but it's actually cool to actually have a company that does follow through on that. So what's next for Optify, and what's on the road that you can share, obviously?
Yeah. Well, we have a couple really big things in the works, which I cannot share, but we'll be sharing soon. So we're really, really excited about some upcoming partnerships and connections with other great companies in the space that we are like-minded with and really share a sense of common purpose and vision. So we're really thinking about that and working hard to make a couple of really big partnerships come through, which hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be able to make this fantastic announcement. So that's been big. We went to the NYU Coaching and Technology Summit where Pam, my partner, spoke on one of the panels. And that has really generated a lot of interest in our coaching platform and just technology in coaching in general. And I think what we're seeing is that the landscape is really changing in this industry, as it does in every industry. I mean, nothing stays the same. And companies that, that have always coached without any technology, they're starting to realize that you can't scale, you can't meet the needs out there without technology. So we're continuing to educate people in the space. We've been invited to write a chapter in a book on, coaching and technology and keeping the integrity of the coaching relationship while using technology to really scale business. So we're excited about what we're doing. We're hoping to bring a lot more coaches on. Of course, the fall is always buying season, so I've been pretty busy selling coaching services and hopefully bringing some new companies into the world of coaching. So lots of fun stuff for us. We're very excited.
That's awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing well. I'm excited to hear what the new announcements are going to be when they come out. So good luck on all that. So
Yep,
we're wrapping up
stay
here, but I
tuned.
want to ask you my key questions that I mentioned about before. What was, or sorry, not what, but who? If you think back in your career, think back on your journey as an entrepreneur, as a professional, as a coach, who was the one or maybe two people who have been most influential in your journey as a coach, as an entrepreneur, to where you're at right
Mm, gosh, most influential. Um, I would say most influential. I think I'm so inspired by the coaching community in general. I mean, I think the creativity and the willingness to explore new avenues is always amazing. I would say Chris Wall, who's one of my I'm such a fangirl of Chris Wall. She's the one who actually started and founded the Georgetown coaching program. I mean, she's such a rock star of a thinker and
now?
mover in the space. And she really had the vision and the trust and the creativity and the guts to start something like Georgetown. That really inspires me. And I think I might have mentioned this one time when we talked before. My grandmother, um, who passed away years ago, she was a businesswoman back in the day when women were not businesswomen, and she owned property and built shopping centers, and she was a single woman who was just incredible. And she always said to me, you can do whatever you can do, and whatever you want to do, so just get out there and try and don't worry about failing. And it's about your efforts. So I would say that she was a huge influence in my life. She also taught me how to cook, so I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. And those are two actually amazing people. And Chris is fantastic, and I'm sure your grandmother was awesome. Would love to have met her, but cool,
She
awesome.
was.
Well, Lisa, any last minute thoughts you want to leave folks with before we end this call today?
No, I guess I want to say I have so much gratitude when people call me an entrepreneur, because it just feels like very natural for me. And I just love being in this community of entrepreneurs, of people who are thinking big, taking risks, trying different things, not afraid to fail. And it's pretty auspicious to be in a community like this. And I really love being included in your entrepreneurial conversation. So thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure, honestly. You're one of the entrepreneurs that I definitely look to and consider awesome in what you do and inspirational. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Everyone, if you want to get in touch with Lisa, we will put her contact information in the description below. Please leave a comment, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. There's a lot of nuggets. If you watched it even once, go back and watch it again. I'm sure you get something else out of it. But thanks so much, Lisa, again. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you guys soon.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. Take care.